A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the merciful. Once again, welcome to our program on Life with COVID-19, where we are trying to assess and analyze the impact of this pandemic on the various segments of our life. We have been frequently talking about one important part which very often has been coming out in our sessions is about managing the pandemic. Today, let's talk about management specifically, which is related to the pandemic. We all know about management. When it comes to management is at different levels. Management is at the level of a state, which is a nation. Management is at the level of business. And management is there in family. Management is there in religious centers. We come across management everywhere. Even if you look at business management is all about making an entity, enterprise, or a company or organization profitable. And profitability comes with two things. One is cost and another is sales. If sales is down, you manage the cost. Okay, that's the way you try to manage the business. You would have seen, and we have all seen, that across the world, big companies, big enterprises, global groups, all of a sudden you listen to the fact that the CEO has resigned or fired out of a company because of big losses the company is suffering. Though in that company or in that organization, there are hundreds and thousands of people working over there. But this one man on the top has to resign if the company is going to the failure. Though the fault would be of many people under, but still this one person is considered responsible. This shows the significance of management, that how critical and how crucial is management in any entity or any organization. If the topmost person who is responsible for management fails, the entire organization fails. Or if a particular department manager fails, the entire department fails over there. Hence, in this pandemic, when we are getting impacted in so many ways, in terms of health, in terms of economy specifically, in terms of religious affairs, spirituality, relationships, psychological issues, we need to learn to properly manage. And this should be a positive impact which should come in our lives because of this pandemic, that how to manage the situation in these toughest of the times which we have. Management, some people think, is just about check and balance. Means, okay, just keep on checking the accounts or checking the balance is what is going on and what is not going on. No. Management means one is to plan for the future. Where are you going towards? Predict the challenges which are going to come to you in the short term, in the mid-term, in the long-term future. And then remove the obstacles as and when they are coming, because at times you might not predict all the obstacles. Like this pandemic was never predicted by companies who were having all business plans and investments which they were doing. All of a sudden the pandemic came, so it's an obstacle. Removing the obstacles is the beauty of management over here. And at the same time, when there are challenges and obstacles coming, how do you keep your team and your people motivated? And this should happen at all levels, means all different segments of our life, not just in business only, at a family level, in religious centers. Religious centers have been the most brutally impacted in terms of management. You see, they have gone down to completely zero, and in fact minus, if you see in most of the cases. Family level, there are many issues which are coming because of improper management of the affairs of the family, specifically in those who are living in emerging economies in poor countries. Food and many other things, and people and families are getting infected, no proper treatment. Things are not getting managed properly. Then in businesses, it's a big impact in business. And then even at the state level, which we have seen that many of the countries, we can say almost all the countries except for few, have been able to manage the pandemic. They have given a blow somewhere or the other. Some countries have given a big blow to deaths and health, like US, and even in entire Europe, you can see the number of deaths which have been there because of the pandemic. They were not able to manage the situation. And there were other factors also, like the lack of morality which is there, which is not there in these countries, also resulted into these impacts which have come in these countries over there. Like one of the countries which you can say has been the most poorly managed in terms of COVID-19 is India. India has shown the worst of the management to the world of this pandemic. Narendra Modi's management has been horrendous, It was not just about not making proper arrangements for test or treatment. The policies which he adopted for overnight lockdowns and then migrant workers suffering and no conveyance, no food, no allowances for people, no proper arrangement, everything going in a haphazard manner. And till today you can see the way the cases are increasing, and India is going on top and top and top in terms of number of cases. You cannot say that because there are no tests or kits or this or that. No, the fundamental problem is on one and only one. That is poor management which is there in the country of such a big population. And it's not that Indians are poor in management. Indians are managing big countries. Like you see in big organizations like Vodafone had a CEO who was Indian background. There are many CEOs of companies in the Western countries who are from Indian origin. Indians are very good in terms of business management. So why can't they manage the state? But at the end we have seen that it has been. Similarly, Pakistan has been also a big mess in terms of managing the affairs in COVID-19. There in Pakistan the reason is also corruption, political instability, economic instability, which was already prevailing from before. And in between, when the pandemic comes and when there is corruption, it completely spoils the situation. Rather than managing the situation to help the people come out of it, the corrupt people who are sitting in the management try to take undue advantage of the situation, and they further spoil the situation over there. If you look at, we as Muslims generally are very poor in terms of management, except for certain countries like Iran, Turkey. They have a good management. But in general, if you look at the Middle Eastern countries, they're totally dependent on the Western countries for management. They don't know how to manage. The entire GCC countries, who are oil-rich countries, in this pandemic didn't do anything out of their own differently to manage the situation. If you look at them and if you compare the poor nations of Africa, certain countries in Africa like Tanzania, very independently, firmly were able to manage the situation. In Tanzania, Magufuli, the president, one person managed the situation and got the country out of any panic and any havoc and any crisis over there. The reason why we as Muslim countries are poor in terms of management is, one fundamental reason is that we struggle between Islamic values and functional values of the modern day world. We have certain Islamic principles to also follow, but at the same time we are also trying to manage the functional values which we have taken from the Western country, from the Western world, which we have imported. And as a result of that, we try to adulterate our Islamic values and principles with the functional values which we have taken from the West. Because in the Western countries, in the non-Islamic countries, management is all about reaching a goal, whereas in an Islamic system, management is not just about reaching the goal. Management is about how you reach the goal, what path you follow to reach the goal, which is the missing element in all other non-Islamic systems over there. Like you would have seen, to take benefit for the self, many of the Islamic people, many of the Muslims, we leave the right path and we take the wrong path because we believe that from this path at least we'll reach the destination. No, that is not the right approach. That is not the right thing over there. In this situation, certain attributes which are essential for management by the leaders of the state, and at any level you can apply these principles, is that during this pandemic, when you are managing anything, whether a society, whether a community, whether a state, whether a family, whether a business, one, you should be doing without any selflessness, not just selfishness, in fact selflessness. You do it for the sake of people without any political interest or any sectarian issue. Like you see in India, the biggest mess which they created was they started to blame the Muslim community for the pandemic. That was another problem, mismanagement. This is mismanagement, and then you started to spoil it. Second thing is, you need to rely sincerely on the experts of relevant field like economy, health, medicine. One person of the state cannot just try to do things out of his own desires, that whichever he feels he can put a lockdown overnight and he can remove it the next day. No. Intellect and wisdom should govern passions and sentiments in management. Like in Pakistan, a big problem has been people have been passionate and sentimental, and they were not using intellect and wisdom, due to which the virus spread it like fire over there as well. You need to have a broader and comprehensive look. When you take any step, you need to know what would be the impact of this step on the other segments, of your life. We need to start to address the grassroots problems, specifically in the economic domain, specifically in the health domain. All these things we need to do. And one thing is, any manager, if he's managing an entity, an organization, or a country specifically, he need to take community support. You can fight the pandemic only with communal support, because the virus is hurting the community. It's not hurting a specific class, it's hurting everyone. Hence, the community has to come out and fight it out, but only under a righteous leadership. And that's what is the management over here. The impact of COVID-19 on this dimension of our life is that we need to learn to always assess and find the right people who can manage the situation, considering both the worldly needs and the year after. Specifically in the religious segment, our mosques, our centers, they have failed. They were not able to do anything in this pandemic. Majority of them, you can say 95% or 98% of them, they did not play any active role in managing the situation, apart from providing some food and ration to those who were hungry. But about treating the people, taking control of the disease, how to manage it, how to plan for the economy, how to plan for the education, the tarbiyah, the religious education, and all these things, they did not do much about this in a planned, in a proper, organized, in a managed manner. Hence, this is an impact which we need to take and learn, that we need the right people to manage the affairs of the country and of the society. And religious management is all about managing a society on religious principles, values, along with guidance and discussions and counseling with the experts. Hence, at least one impact which should come on us because of COVID-19, and we have to live with this, is that we need to learn to find the right leaders, the right managers who can manage and take us out of these situations when they come more and more in future, as these things are not going to change. They're going to become more and more worse now. If not the virus, the benefits which the people are planning to take from this virus, from the capitalist world, those impacts are much more severe than the pandemic itself. Hence, we need to prepare on how to manage and how to remove this obstacle. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.